So we cut our background, we cut our sky from the image, and now we're getting into the part which is the most important part for me in this kind of compositions. Of course, before we will go into this part, have a look on this image. Let me zoom this a little bit, and as you can see, there is still some parts of course we have to fix. We have to clean the edges over here. As you can notice, they are not really clear as much as we want. We have some blue sticky parts into the girl's hair, and of course this background wasn't white, so it's not really easy to remove the background in perfect way, but in my opinion we really got a great result. So we have to clear this, but I'm going to clear this on my new background. It will be much easier because I can see what is suitable. And of course, before we go into this part where we're going to build the background, we have to prepare our stock images. We have to have in our head the way we wanted our image looks like. Because later on, if we will do some mistakes, it will be really difficult to fix this. So we have to be really careful. We have to work very slowly and carefully in this part, because it's really important. If we do some mistakes at the end, we can see these mistakes and there won't be opportunity to fix this anymore. So let's try to do this very clear. Build your background very clear. Have your plan in your head how you want your background looks like. And as you can see, I have two images I'm going to use to build my background. Is this view for Manhattan, and from this part, from this stock image, I'm going to build my sky. So I'm going to use only upper half of this image, and second image I'm going to use as a landscape I can say view behind our model. And I think these two images works really great with this image. As I said, we have to have a plan. I have already a plan how I want this manipulation looks like. If we won't have a plan, if you don't have any plan how you want your image looks like, you might do some mistakes. So remember, prepare your stock images, as I said at the beginning of this course. And after you prepare them, you have to know where to place your stock images. You have to have a plan how you want this image looks like. But before I'm going to place this two stock images, I'm going to create new project, and I'm going to do this to keep the order in my work. It's very important. You can, of course, you can move these stock images into this project, but I'm really huge fan of keeping everything in order. We can have very clear view what we're doing. So it's quite important, and I highly recommend you to do everything on a new project. So let's create new project. Click File, New. As you can see, my settings are already done with 3000 height, 2000 pixels. It's quite optimal for this kind of manipulations, as all of these images were bigger than this size. Remember, if you want to create compositions, you have to use stock images which are bigger than your project. And I already adjust the size for this project, and resolution is 300, and background contents are white. And the reason why it's white, because I think it's the most comfortable to work on the white background, as we can see most of the details. So change the name for my project now, and there you go. Here is our new project. Now I'm going to move this project at the beginning. I think it's the most comfortable. 1, 2. Okay, and our project is on the beginning. And now I'm going to move this girl to my new project. Using Move Tool, I'm going to click Move Tool. Click on our project. Remember, our this layer with our cut background has to be selected and move this image to our new project. There you go. As you can see, this image fits perfect. So the first thing for everything will be done, we have to clear the edges. But as I said, it will be better when I place my background first, so I can see what's the most suitable. I'm going to start with these mountains. Once again, move tool, move these mountains into our project. Of course, do not cover our gear, just drag it down behind the gear and check the position which would be the best for this project. And I think something like this, it's really good, it looks nice. So here's the place I put my mountains, and now I can see all the details on the gear which has to be cleaned. As you can see, there's some things we have to do on the hair, as well a little bit on the book here, behind here, but of course we have to be careful. So let's go to this layer with our gear, and we're going to paint on our layer mask. As you can see, our layer mask is color black, so we have to use color white. Select the brush, of course, color white, zoom it as much as it will be the best for you. The brush has to be really small, as we want to keep the control on doing this. Some parts we cannot fix. My bad, of course. Our background is black, so to clean all the areas we have to use color black. Of course. So let's clean all the edges. Do this very slowly, and of course opacity 100 in this case. Later on can be smaller, but do this very slowly and try to remove all the dirty, maybe not dirty, but not great looking edges. It's going to take a while, of course. I'm not going to clear these areas inside because it's too huge risk, and later on we're going to cover these areas, so just the most visible areas have to work on. And of course it's very visible at the moment, but we have to know it's really huge zoom when our image is a little bit away. We cannot see all of these details. Actually, I thought it's much worse. Actually, edges are not so bad. Okay, I don't want to do anything more here. So I think the way it looks like it's not bad. And a little bit correction on this book, and in this area I see a little bit more has to be done. Not sure if there's a possibility to do this, because as you can see we are not able to clean this area inside as much as we would like to. Because if we're going to do this inside, it won't look natural. So I would recommend you to keep small areas if you have the same kind of picture as me. A little bit work on the book. Okay, I think we clear most of the parts we didn't want to. So take a look on our image from the normal perspective. And the other thing we have to do to cover these edges here, if there's no chance to remove this anymore, there's one other trick we can do to cover these areas, to make these areas less visible. And this trick is actually dodge and burn tool. So create new layer, and actually we're going to use only burn. So let's call this burn edges. Click edit, fill, and fill this layer with 50% gray. The reason why gray color works really great with dodge and burn after we change blend mode to overlay or soft light, is going to change this layer into invisible layer, but we still can do dodging and burning, and the effect is really great. It's not really good to do dodging and burning on the actual layer where we have our picture. Remember, always create new layer if you want to dodge and burn. Fill this layer with color gray and change blending mode to overlay or soft light. Depends how strong you want to use dodging and burning. I used to change this to overlay. So select burn tool, and I have exposure at 30%. Usually I use a little bit smaller exposure, but have to burn this quite nicely, and as you see it's going to cover our edges a little bit, and the effect is much better now. So just burn the edges to make them a little bit darker. If we are not able to remove anything more. Take a look now, and as you can see from normal perspective, our edges are nearly invisible. It helps us a lot, and this image actually is starting to have a shape. As I said before, I'm going to use two stock images to build my background. So let's go to place another stock image. And it's this New York city downtown. move this to our project and drag it down under our mountains. Of course, we have to check what's the best for these layers to make them suitable for each other. And of course, we have to connect this into one sky. So what we have to do, we have to create, of course, a layer mask on the stock image with mountains. And after this, we have to remove some parts and do soft edges. Before I'm going to do this, I'm going to change the name of these layers. This one I'm going to call mountains. And this one sky. There you go. I'm going to click on the mountains layer, add layer mask, use a brush, of course black color as always, and now as you can see, remove some areas. And as you can see, it was hard to expect that, but after we do this, these edges looks really suitable. Of course, the sky is a bit darker, but as I can notice, and I can obviously say, this sky is very suitable for each other. It's hard to notice after just few move on the brush on our layer mask. We cannot see many differences. It looks like just one sky. So as you see, it's very simple, but we have to be really careful with this, and there's always possibility if you remove too much, just change brush to white color and fix your areas. I have nothing to fix at the moment. It looks quite nice, so I'm really happy about result I've got. As I said at the beginning, it's really great to keep everything in order. So the thing we have to do, maybe I change opacity to 40% and do these edges even soften, so you can see it's much better now. And the things we have to do, we have to change saturation of these layers, as I think it's really too colorful, and later on when we're going to add some other color effects, this image won't look really good. Actually, it's going to look horrible. So the thing we have to do, and mostly in every composition, we have to take saturation down, because this image is obviously too saturated. And the other thing is, it's easy to notice that it was built from few different images. So at first I'm going to put my background into one group, select both of these and press Ctrl and G or Command and G if you're working on Mac, and I'm going to call this background. And the same I'm going to do with this girl. I'm going to select two of these layers, Ctrl G, and we have group, and this group I'm going to call girl. There you go, and as you see, it looks much better, and it allows us to keep everything in order. Always create a group to keep everything in order, so we won't have a million layers in this area, but we'll just have few layers, and we will work inside the groups to keep everything in order. It's very important. You cannot notice this if you're doing a small project which has, for example, 5 different layers, but this project will have much more layers than 5, so it's really good to create groups to keep every layer in order. It's very easy to edit later on if we know where everything is placed. So let's go back to the background. And as I said before, we have to change the colors. We have to desaturate every layer a little bit. I'm going to start from this sky. click this small icon on the bottom and go to hue saturation. I'm going to click on this layer and create clipping mask. It makes this hue saturation is going to be applied only into this sky layer, and I'm going to take down saturation quite much, maybe around 40, but as you can see it makes our layer darker, it makes our sky darker. So I'm going to add some lightness to make this a little bit bright, something like this, maybe too desaturated, and okay, I think it's fine at the moment. Now let's do the same thing on our mountains. Small icon on the bottom, hue saturation, click right, once again create clipping mask and desaturate. The same, and maybe a bit darker, or actually not, because it has some influence on our mountains. We don't want this, but I feel this sky it's still too dark. And okay, and now we can see the differences between them. As you can notice, this part is a little bit maybe bluish. The thing we can do on this sky layer, we can apply another effect. So let's try with a photo filter right now. Select this soft blue color, and we can check now if it works with our layer. As you can see, I think it's a little bit better, I could say. Maybe this, I don't want to make this effect really strong. Create clipping mask. Once again, it's a bit more bluish right now. Okay. And now I think our sky looks really great. So we can close this group. And now, of course, we have to desaturate our foreground layer. At first, open this. Click here on this burn edges, or under this burn edges. It doesn't make too big difference. Hue saturation, desaturate, click right, create clipping mask. As I said, it has to be, it makes difference, because clipping mask, as I said, is going to apply under this layer. Delete layer. And of course we have to add hue saturation above this layer with our girl under burn edges. And of course we have to add our hue saturation layer above this layer with the girl under our burn edges. So click the small icon on the bottom, hue saturation, create clipping mask, and take down some saturation. As you can see, it's going to be applied into this girl layer. I'm going to take saturation maybe around minus 40, 45. It depends which kind of image you have. I think it's suitable for this image, and all the layers looks very similar. It doesn't look like few different images at the moment. I think there's no reason to bring up some lightness right now. It looks okay for me. So okay, it was quite easy. Now we can close this layer, and if you still think, as you see, we adjust all of these layers to themselves, and if you still think this image is a bit too saturated, click this small icon and add another hue saturation layer on this above all of these layers. And as you can see, it's really desaturated image, but it doesn't mean it's really wrong, because as I said, later on we're going to add some photo effects, and as I said, this image will be really colorful, powerful and sunny. But before we add all of these effects, we have to desaturate this image at first to make these effects look really great. So we finished with one of the most important part, with building a base for our background, and in other parts I still will be focused on our background and building compositions. I probably will be focused on adding some mystery into all of these layers and some additional stock images, which going to look better and better.